Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Before starting the video, I request you to kindly support my channel. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Jazakallah. In the later stages of antiquity, no one could have predicted the rise of a great civilization from the barren desert of the Arabian Peninsula. However, following significant military conquests, powerful caliphs and sultans established vast empires, navigating periods of both prosperity and turmoil. This is a history of over 1,000 years of Islamic civilization, focusing particularly on its Middle Eastern heartland. The pre-Islamic Arabian Peninsula. In the 6th century, the Arabian Peninsula was largely a remote region between two great empires, the Sasanian Empire to the east and the Christian Byzantine Empire to the west. The Arab people of the peninsula were primarily nomadic tribes, with most practicing polytheism and worshipping various gods. But this way of life was about to be transformed. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born in Mecca around 570 CE. According to Islamic tradition, he was chosen by God to be the final prophet in a line that included figures like Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. His mission was to teach the Arabs the true form of monotheism. Over many years, the Quran was revealed to him in segments and was eventually compiled into the central religious text of Islam. Initially, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, faced persecution, but after migrating to Medina, an event that marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar, he established Islam, united the Arab tribes, and fought battles against idolaters. This unification of the Arabian tribes created the foundation of the Muslim nation. When the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, passed away in 632, the Muslim community faced a crisis. The question of who would succeed him in his various roles, spiritual, political, and military, became a central issue, one that would continue to shape Islamic history for centuries. The Rashidun Caliphate. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, successors took the title of Caliph, meaning successor. The first four caliphs, known as the Rashidun, or rightly guided caliphs, were selected based on their closeness to the Prophet and their personal qualities. They ruled for 30 years and expanded the caliphate rapidly, creating the first Muslim state with functioning institutions, taxes, and bureaucracy. Their military campaigns led to the fall of the Sasanian Empire and the loss of Byzantine territories. This period is viewed by Muslims as the golden age of Islam. However, internal tensions grew, and 3 of the 4 caliphs were assassinated. A significant divide arose around Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, cousin and son-in-law, with his supporters, the Shia, arguing that Ali had been appointed as the rightful successor. Their opponents, later known as Sunnis, rejected this claim. Over time, this dispute would deepen into the largest religious divide in Islam. Umayyad Caliphate. In 661, the Umayyads, an Arab family that had settled in Syria, came to power and ruled for 90 years. The Islamic capital moved from the Arabian Peninsula to Damascus. The new authority brought with it a new political system, a dynasty, where the position of caliph was passed down from father to son. The Umayyad dynasty led the second wave of conquests, establishing an empire that stretched from Central Asia to the Iberian Peninsula. However, the Muslim defeat to Frankish forces in the Battle of Tours marked the end of Muslim expansion in the West, preventing the Islamization of Western Europe. Caliph Abd al-Malik strove to centralize power in Damascus, strengthened the Arab identity of the empire, bolstered its administrative system, and initiated major construction projects, notably the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. But social and political divisions, rebellions, and civil wars shook the Umayyad Caliphate. In the Battle of Karbala, the Umayyads murdered Ali's son, delivering a resounding and formative blow to the Shias. Finally, In the mid-8th century, various opposition groups united into a military force that brutally massacred the Umayyad family. Abbasid Caliphate. In 750, out of the chaos, the Abbasid dynasty rose to power. They were a Sunni Arab family that took pride in their lineage to Abbas, Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, uncle. The period of upheaval had come to an end, and the leadership of the Abbasid caliphs lasted for more than 500 years. Immediately following their ascension to power, Muslim forces won the Battle of Talas against the Chinese Empire, bringing to a close the advance in the east. The Abbasids ceased the expansionist policy, turning their gaze inward to the construction of the caliphate. They moved the capital from Damascus to a new city they built, Baghdad. It soon became known as the largest and most prosperous city in the world. The caliphate served as a fertile ground for poets, writers, physicians, philosophers, and astronomers. Scientific writings in Greek and other languages were translated into Arabic, forming the foundation of massive original scholarship. The golden age of the Abbasid Caliphate. And so, the Abbasid period is considered the golden age of Islamic civilization. The Abbasid Caliph Harun al-Rashid, known from the tales of Arabian Nights, served as a patron of scholars, maintained diplomatic relations with Charlemagne, and even sent an elephant to Europe, arousing excitement in the Frankish kingdom. But alongside this flourishing era, starting from the mid-9th century, the Abbasids in Baghdad began losing control over the empire, while local Muslim dynasties gained power and encroached on vast territories. Gradually, the caliph lost political and military authority, becoming a mere figurehead. In addition, Arab exclusivity in the caliphate weakened, as Persian and Turkic elements gradually rose to prominence. The Islamic story ceased to be solely Arab and became a multicultural one. Decentralization, Buyids and Fatimids. In the West, Iberia was never ruled by the Abbasids, but remained under a remnant of the Umayyad dynasty. The Islamic presence in Spain lasted hundreds of years, though it was gradually pushed back by the Christian Reconquista. In the East, various Persian dynasties ruled at the expense of the Abbasids. Some of these dynasties fueled a revival of Persian culture, which had suffered a severe blow during the Arab conquest. The Persian language was reborn and adopted the Arabic script. In 945, the Persian Buyid family took control of Baghdad. Although the Buyids were Shia, they chose not to oust the Sunni Abbasid caliph. Instead, they limited his power while controlling a confederation that spanned Iraq and western Iran. Their influence lasted for more than 100 years. At the same time, the Fatimids gained power. They were an ambitious Arab Shia dynasty that traced their lineage to Fatima, Muhammad's daughter, and the wife of Ali. The Fatimid dynasty spread through North Africa into Egypt, establishing Cairo as its capital and ruling vast territories from there. The Fatimids called for the overthrow of the Abbasid caliph, managed networks of Shia missionaries, and were suspected of subversive activity, causing panic among the Sunni caliphs. Despite ruling their shadow caliphate for an impressive 200 years, the Fatimids ultimately failed to defeat Baghdad. The rise of Shia Islam. In the 10th century, against the backdrop of the political success of Shia dynasties such as the Fatimids and the Buyids, Shia Islam began to take a more defined shape. It evolved from a collection of political groups into well-structured religious movements. The rise of the Seljuks. In the 10th and 11th centuries, political and climatic challenges struck the steppes of Central Asia, stirring the movement of Turkic tribes. These nomadic peoples were economically dependent on horses and other livestock, and were excellent mounted archers. Many migrated into the Middle East. This process was threefold: conversion to Sunni Islam, migration, and political takeover. This process was threefold: conversion to Sunni Islam, migration, and political takeover. In 1055, the Seljuks, a Sunni Turkic family, took control of Baghdad and removed the Umayyads. They assumed the title of Sultan, a designation that would remain central in the Middle East for centuries to come. The great Seljuks ruled over a vast empire, but, like the Umayyads before them, they did not depose the Abbasid Caliph. Instead, they controlled him. In fact, the Seljuks defended the Abbasids against the Shia Fatimid threat and became the agents of a Sunni revival. This highlights the symbolic centrality of the Abbasid Caliph and his role as an exclusive source of legitimacy in the Sunni Muslim world. The Battle of Manzikert and the Turkification of Anatolia. In 1071, at the Battle of Manzikert, the Seljuk Sultan decisively defeated the Byzantine emperor. This victory opened Anatolia to Turkic tribes, initiating a transformation that, over the following centuries, would turn Greek-Christian Anatolia into a Turkic Muslim land. The most prominent political power in the region became the Sultanate of Rum, a Seljuk branch. Through this process, the foundation for modern Turkey was established. The Crusades and the Ayyubid dynasty. In 1095, while the Islamic Middle East remained politically divided, the Crusades were launched under the direction of the Catholic Church. Their declared goal was to liberate the holy places from the hands of Muslim infidels. European forces occupied Jerusalem and established several states along the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. The Crusader presence in the Middle East lasted for 200 years. During this period, Muslims often viewed their new neighbors as representatives of a less advanced civilization with an inferior culture. In the 12th century, Saladin, a member of a Sunni Kurdish family, rose to prominence. A charismatic leader, he eliminated Shia Fatimid rule and founded the Ayyubid dynasty, which ruled Egypt and Syria. Saladin fought the Crusaders, defeating them at the Battle of Hattin in 1187 and freeing Jerusalem from Christian control. The blow to the Crusaders was severe, but not decisive in the long term, as they managed to survive in the region for another 100 years. The rise of the Khwarezmian Empire. Meanwhile, the Seljuk state collapsed, paving the way for the emergence of a new regional power, the Turkic Khwarezmian Empire. Formerly a vassal of the Seljuks, the Khwarezmian state came to control Iran and parts of Central Asia. The Mongol invasion, Genghis Khan and Hulagu Khan. The 13th century marks a watershed moment in both Islamic and world history. Far away in the steppes north of China, Genghis Khan was proclaimed ruler of all Mongols, a group of nomadic tribes with a shamanic religion, legendary as mounted archers, much like the Turks to their west. Within a few decades, under Genghis Khan and his descendants, the Mongol Empire expanded to become the largest contiguous land empire in human history. It was seen as invincible and merciless. In an ill-advised move, the Muslim rulers of the Khwarezmian Empire executed Mongol merchants. The Mongols responded with brutal retribution, leading to the complete destruction of the Khwarezmian state. By the mid-13th century, the Mongols controlled Iran, the Caucasus, and most of Anatolia. The fall of Baghdad and the end of the Abbasid Caliphate. Hulagu Khan, Genghis Khan's grandson, demanded that the Abbasid Caliph surrender. The Caliph, refusing to submit to the non-Muslim hordes, stood his ground. In 1258, Hulagu besieged Baghdad, razed it to the ground, and massacred its inhabitants. The city's great library, known as the House of Wisdom, was destroyed, marking the symbolic end of the Islamic Golden Age. The Abbasid Caliph suffered a gruesome fate. He was rolled in a carpet and trampled by horses. After 500 years of leadership, the Abbasid Caliphate had come to an end. Rulers from the steppes, Mamluks, Ilkhanids, and Timurids. After his conquest of Baghdad, Hulagu Khan turned his attention to Egypt. There, the Ayyubid dynasty of Saladin had been overthrown and replaced by a new power, the Mamluk Sultanate. The Mamluks were Turkic slave soldiers, originally brought from the steppes, converted to Islam, and trained as an elite military force for Muslim rulers as early as the 9th century. By the 13th century, in Ayyubid-controlled Egypt, this warrior class had seized political power. Slaves had become masters, the Mamluks, protectors of Islam. In 1260, at the Battle of Ain Jalut, the Mamluks achieved a decisive victory over the Mongols, marking the first significant setback to their relentless expansion. Sultan Baybars, a key figure in this victory, not only repelled the Mongols, but also defeated the Crusaders, leading to the eventual collapse of their presence in the region. These victories established the Mamluks as the protectors of Islam. Baybars further solidified their legitimacy by restoring the Abbasid Caliphate in Cairo, though its role remained largely symbolic. The Mamluks ruled for 250 years, overseeing a period of stability and power in the Islamic world. The Mongol legacy, Ilkhanids and Timurids. By the late 13th century, the Mongol Empire had broken into several regional dynasties, led by descendants of Genghis Khan. Many of these dynasties and their ruling classes converted to Islam and adopted Turkic languages. One such dynasty was the Ilkhanids, descendants of Hulagu Khan, who ruled a large territory stretching from Anatolia to Iran. The Ilkhanids demonstrated that the Mongols were not only brutal conquerors, but also fostered economic, cultural, and intellectual prosperity. However, the Ilkhanate collapsed in the 14th century and was succeeded by the Empire of Timur, Tamerlane, a ruthless Turco-Mongol conqueror. Like the Ilkhanids, the Timurids combined brutal conquest with cultural achievements. Their empire persisted in various forms until the late 15th century. The Ottomans and the Safavids, Mughals. Meanwhile, a new power was rising in the west. Around 1300, Osman, the leader of a small Turkic Muslim principality in Anatolia, began to challenge the Byzantine Empire. Osman and his descendants gradually expanded their territory into Anatolia and the Balkans, founding the Ottoman Empire. In 1453, the Ottomans captured Constantinople, ending 1,000 years of Byzantine rule and often marking the end of the Middle Ages. The city was renamed Istanbul, becoming the new capital of the Turkish Empire. Sultan Selim the Grim greatly expanded the Ottoman Empire, leveraging new gunpowder technology. In 1517, he conquered Cairo, executed the last Mamluk Sultan, and abolished the Abbasid Caliphate there, declaring himself the new Caliph and leader of Sunni Islam. The Ottoman Empire stretched across vast territories, including the Middle East, North Africa, and southeastern Europe. In the 16th century, two powerful empires arose to its east: the Shia Safavid Empire, which became the foundation of modern Iran, and the Mughal Empire, which ruled India. Together, these three gunpowder empires were dominant powers during the early modern period. Conclusion: the Ottoman Empire, the final caliphate in Islamic history, endured for 600 years, ultimately falling in the 20th century after the First World War. Thank you for watching my video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications to stay updated.